Eventually, along with a lot of coercing from Minstrel, Sunny began to actually believe that a Grand Raider warlord whom she had known to devastate entire areas of the Wastes was actually protecting a scared little Pegasus and an ex-initiate of the Steel Rangers. Not until I had explained all this did I realize how simply mad my life had been over the past... week? No, it had to have been shorter. Few days? Right, so your friend is down there. Well, let's get moving. Sunny seemed insistent to make tracks. Seeing her master pick up the rifle, Kkat began bounding around the sofa and waiting impatiently near the door. Minstrel held his hooves up, shaking his head.
No. Murky's still far too injured to make such a journey. Didn't you see the balloons go down near that place a few days ago? It's dangerous still. No place for walking wounded. Remain here, Sonny. Help him. Teach him. If this raider is as insistent as he sounds, he'll wait. Now I gotta go fetch some stuff from the stash. Give him a hand. You stay with him, Sonny.
Speaking even as he drew on a leather longcoat, Minstrel trotted toward the front door, shouting his goodbyes as he left. Sighing at my seemingly eternal time to wait and see when my entire will wanted to surge through the door, I trotted over and sat in front of my journal instead. Minstrel had explained how I was using it to remember the events of the escape, so at least I could distract myself using it. Now just to... It felt like my mind had stopped moving. When I had knocked my journal off the table in my rush to get away from Kkat, it had fallen open at an earlier page. A much earlier page. Sunny, hearing my audible gasp, shifted over to peer across my shoulder. Huh. Now why'd you go and draw one of them things now? Before me, upon the page, lay a charcoal sketch of a foal's toy. A stupid little frayed and oft-repaired stuffed pony with mismatching eye shapes. In my younger days, the scaling was all messed up, but I felt myself shiver. Nothing big. The memory was beginning to filter back in. I'd never forgotten it per se. Just, it had passed out of my mind down the years of being told to ignore everything else, of a strange little emotion I'd briefly felt once long ago. Struggling, putting the bits and pieces back together, I tried to remember all the details. It was nothing, other than it was from my foalhood, a time when usually I had felt nothing but loneliness. I didn't think much of it. Just once, as a foal in slavery, we were being taken down to the riverbed to scavenge, all of us in chains. But there was this wagon passing by, and I saw this stuffed toy fall off. I ran out of line to grab it, probably just me being a stupid fool. I wasn't too intelligent. Sunny leaned closer, looking more curious than caring. So, this toy used to belong to you? No, that's the thing. I could have done what I normally do, just take what I can, but when I picked it up in my mouth I saw this little filly on the back of the wagon crying and trying to get her parents to stop. I think they didn't want to stop near slavers, so they kept going. I galloped up and threw it back to her. Sunny drew out her words slowly. How generous. You could have just taken it. Gently I shook my head. I guess I just couldn't while I saw her looking. It was hers. She caught it when I threw it. I got lashed with a cane a dozen times for stepping out of line and that was it. Really. It was a real fight not to burst into tears as the memory of being forced across a nearby rock, held down by my hooves, and Kane flooded back. How he hadn't let up, even as my shrill young voice had shrieked and echoed in the dusty valley. This was why I didn't look back in my journal. Exactly the reason everything before I was made free in my mind was off limits to me. Nope, there wasn't any helping it. I could already see the drips on the paper. Sunny remained quiet before reaching across and flicking through my journal until it was on a blank page. She didn't seem to have much soft emotion, but had just enough social perception to spot the memory was a little unsettling. Well, I'm sure she'd be pretty thankful for what you did, I'm sure. Come on, Try something new. Get your head out of the clouds and into escaping, eh? Beside me, I felt Cayenne pad across and lay her head on my hind legs, whining slightly and rubbing her soft hair against me. Even my fears couldn't stop me feeling a little comforted by the animal's empathy. Taking a deep breath, I wiped my eyes and took up the charcoal. Yes, just ignoring things. That'd work. It always had. Forget it and get on with the work. We spent a lot of time in that safe room till things quieted down and we'd gotten our breath back. However, we didn't have any medical supplies left bar one syringe. I think my shoulder was getting worse, but we had to move soon. Leaning down, a dark metal flapping door was drawn with Glimmerlight's head pressed against it, listening to the dull sounds outside as she sighed at the distant gunshots.